back to another episode of Bet GPT. If you remember at the end of last episode, I called it Chat GPT. So I made sure to emphasize this is Bet GPT. Austin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So we have a multitude of topics to get into today. We're going to recap the MLB. That's pretty much the most exciting thing going on right now because our sorry USA women's soccer team got eliminated. We'll touch on that too. We'll get into some NFL preseason, Premier Leagues this weekend. I don't know. We're kind of just caught in that time where there's not a ton going on, you know?
Yeah, not to go back to when you asked me how I'm doing. I think I'm going to start answering it like Dave Ramsey and start being like better than I deserve every time you ask me.
Yeah, you need to start remembering to do that. That never gets old.
Make a mental note.
Yeah. If the listeners have any questions on how to better pay off their debt, let Austin know. He'll have a little segment for you. But all right, so let's get into it here. Women's soccer update. The United States tied Sweden, so it went to extra time and penalty kicks, and they ultimately lose. Slade's favorite player, Alex Morgan, did absolutely nothing the whole World Cup. Do you have anything to say to defend
She is
her?
forgiven, but that's a strike.
That's a strike. Well, so I'm assuming she has one strike. She's about to retire, so she will never have the three strikes. You're out. Yeah. So that's a successful career in your eyes. But let me ask you.
I still like her more than, is it Rapinoe?
Megan Rapinoe, yeah.
Rapinoe? Yeah. Still not a fan. Did you see that clip of them like celebrating a tie?
Yeah, and then Carly Lloyd called them out. They just didn't have a killer mentality the whole tournament. It just
not that I really care. I just found the TikToks funny.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, that team. Like, they had so much young talent. I remember our first podcast, we talked about Sophia Smith and Alyssa Thompson, and like first game, Sophia Smith goes out and scores 2 goals. But we specifically said we didn't want to bet her for Golden Boot because we didn't know, like, she's so young. We don't know if she can consistently go out there and do that. And we said the same thing about Alyssa Thompson. Well, Alyssa Thompson didn't even play. She played like 20 minutes. Meanwhile, Megan Rapinoe, who can barely run, can't make a PK, is playing nonstop. And then Alex Morgan, who is allergic to scoring goals, is playing the whole game too. So
that's why I told you I like her passing, because she can't score anymore.
2023, 0 goals in 4 games. 2019 World Cup. Oh, dang, she had 6 goals. Oh, but 5 of them are against Thailand in a 13-0 game. Slade, I'm pretty sure you could have scored twice in that game. 2015 World Cup, 7 games. She had 1 goal. And 2011, she had 2 goals. So I don't know. Maybe she just doesn't have the clutch gene. She's had a lot of good teammates around her, but when it's her time to step up, she's just not Captain America. Not that she is. I don't know if she is the captain. I think Lindsey Horan is the captain, but nonetheless, pretty disappointing from the U.S. team. Do you have any predictions on who you think is going to win the Women's World Cup? Can you even name
who's
teams?
Left?
England's left. Australia. I think we should be pro Australia. They have.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because it's in Australia. One of their best players, her last name's Kerr, Kerr. She was injured and actually just came back last game. So it'd be kind of a Cinderella story if she was able to kind of lead the team, put the team on her back and win in their home country. But I think they're around like 20-1. I wouldn't suggest betting that. It's probably just...
Who's the favorite?
The favorites right now are Spain and England, I believe. Then there's also France left. The Netherlands, who is in the USA's group, they've been dominating. They beat South Africa in their round of 16 game, which is who the United States should have played if they would have beat the Netherlands. Japan is still in it. They're a tough team. So it should be pretty competitive. It ends on August 20th. So It's just so annoying that all the games are at 3 a.m. Like we're not able to watch any of them. So I feel like that's pretty much the end of our Women's World Cup
Yeah, Alex
update.
Pop is done,
Yeah,
and the U.S. women's team is done. So
yeah.
football's
We'll
around the corner.
we'll update who wins the World Cup, but other than that, we look forward to you guys tuning in 2027. We'll look back on this podcast and be like, remember
Yep.
when the boys said they were going to take a 4-year hiatus? Well, it starts now. All right, let's get into the MLB. The MLB standings right now and kind of update what's going on. I guess first and foremost, I want to talk about our Gunnar Henderson play for AL Rookie of the Year. I think we had him at like plus 230. Since then,
Yeah.
a lot's changed. Josh Jung, broken thumb. How long is he out for? Couple
A
weeks?
while. I
Yeah.
mean, at this point, I don't really know if it matters. There's only like 7 weeks left. So even a couple weeks is pretty big deal.
Yeah. So he fell all the way down to 30-1. Tristan Casas for the Red Sox is at 18-1. But really, it's a 2-man race between Gunnar and Yoshida. Yoshida's plus 250. So if you got Gunnar at, plus 230, you could technically bet Yoshida plus 250 and profit a unit. But I mean, Gunnar's on a better team. He's going to have more opportunities to hit. Yeah.
I just looked it up. That Josh, you said it's pronounced Young.
I thought it was
I
Josh
don't know.
Jung.
Jung. Okay, I don't know. At least 6 weeks. So he's done. He's coming back with like 2 weeks left.
So just in time for the playoffs. I mean, probably doesn't even care if he wins Rookie of the Year. He's on a team that actually can play
No, but there's
in
that
the
new
playoffs.
rule where like if your guy wins Rookie of the Year, you get like an extra draft pick. So teams want them to
Oh,
because
you're
remember
right.
Seattle got that extra first round pick for Julio.
For Julio, yeah. That's a good point. Well, going on the NL side, who do you think's gonna
That's a
pull?
done deal, right?
Corbin Carroll. It's off the board. I mean,
Yeah, he's
D-backs lock up that extra pick.
Ellie struggled and he was really the only threat down the stretch. He's a strikeout machine. I'm still bullish on him long term. I just think that the race isn't close. He already came into the year, I mean, missing the first 2 months at least. So it would have taken something crazy to catch up. Because it's not like Corbin Carroll's just your middle of the road, like rookie of the year candidate. He's having a very, very good rookie year.
Yeah, definitely top 5, top 10 for sure within MVP voting.
When you go back and look at some of those former rookie of the years, you're kind of like, these guys are not even good. So Corbin Carroll's not Michael Fulmer. I'll put it that way.
I was just gonna say your boy Michael Fulmer
He's a
for the
good
Tigers.
player, but he's
After he's a
not
starter,
like,
yeah.
yeah, he's just a middle reliever. He's not moving the needle a whole lot.
2022, Julio Rodriguez and Michael Harris, both great players. Michael Harris struggled, but I mean, these guys, they're still allowed to struggle. It's their second year. Like things happen. 2021, Randy Rosarena and Jonathan India, which we haven't talked about Jonathan India much. There's been a lot of speculation that he could get traded just because the Reds are bringing up so many young players. Do you think that there's going to be a market for him? Like, who would even does he
Yes,
play just second base?
I think he
Or
can move around a little bit,
okay, yeah,
but there was a lot of teams calling the Reds about him from what I heard from like Jesse Rogers during the trade deadline. A lot of teams were interested, and they probably could have gotten a pitcher back, but they decided to keep him because he's like a clubhouse presence and a mature voice in the room, despite only being in the league for 4 years. But that just shows how young the Reds are. That like outside of Joey Votto, that's really the only guy with experience on the whole roster, and Votto missed the first half the season.
yeah. You have to wonder about the Reds if they would have kept Luis Castillo. How good their team would actually be right now. Because
I don't know what they got back on like in that trade, so I
yeah,
can't can't
They got
speculate there. But
infielders, Novelli, Marte, and Edwin Arroyo, and a couple right-handed pitchers. So none of those guys are doing anything for the Reds right now, and it just seems like they have like an insane amount of infielders, which is just another reason to, I guess, trade India if you can, maybe get some pitching back. This has some top 3 landing spots for him. This article has Mariners, Marlins, and New York Mets.
I mean, that would be done in the off season.
I'd say whoever can get you the best starting pitching prospects, make that deal.
Do we want to quickly pat ourselves on the back for the Angels? I think we pretty much said at the time that was a horrible decision, and they were going for it without any real chance. I don't know if you're going to convince Ohtani because you missed the playoffs by 5 games instead of 7. I never really understood that. Their Fangraphs has them down to 2% chance to make the playoffs, which is like a fraction of what it was the day they made all those deals. So they not only did they lose the guys they traded away, but they lost the opportunity cost of Shohei. So you're talking about like potentially like a 7 or 8 prospect difference between keeping him or trying to build something for this year that was never going to happen anyways. So now you're set back for a long time. But hey, they went for it and the media applauded them. So everybody loves being quote unquote competitive, but if you're still losing, no one cares.
By the time we have our next Women's World Cup update, the Angels are going to be in the same exact place. Purgatory. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
I was thinking about this. There's probably 4 franchises that are just complete dumpster fires and have like they have literally nothing but hope, because meaning like they have nothing going for them other than just like praying they get lucky. It's like the Rockies. They have every decision they make is terrible with their money. No free agents want to go there. Like the best thing they could do is move out of Denver because nobody wants to play in the altitude.
Yeah.
The other team is obviously the A's because they don't make any money. They don't have any payroll. They don't have any prospects. Their fans are like, don't even show up. Like I don't blame them. The ownership.
With them going to Vegas though, they at least have that glimmer of hope that that's going to turn things around. I'm just going to assume they'll make more money being in Vegas. I don't really know how that works though.
And the other team, and it's the White Sox, and I'll admit that they fooled me. I paid more attention to them than like 90% of the league just because they're in the same city as my favorite team. So I hear a lot about them. And like I bought into the hype probably around 2020 when they were kind of starting to see all these prospects come up from their sell-off. I mean, they sold Chris Sale, Jose Quintana, like Adam Eaton, and they got like real prospects back. And they were a good team for what feels like just a minute. I mean, they won like 90 some games just like 2 years ago. And now they probably should have blown it up even more than they did at this trade deadline.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw in the news this week, some players that they did trade away, basically all of them, like Lance Lynn and some reliever, can't think of his name, Kenyon something, but they basically said that clubhouse has no rules. It's a bunch of lazy dudes. They're just not a tight group. They said what's his name? Yasmani Grandal. Yeah, is not a friend to the pitchers, is how they described it.
Wait. So you're telling me that Tony La Russa didn't create a good environment for these guys?
He did not. If you can believe that. Well, here's the funny thing is Rick Hahn is their GM, and like probably 24 months ago, everybody was saying Rick Hahn's the best GM in Chicago, which is now he's the worst. He's going to probably get fired. But to give Rick Hahn some credit, he did not want to hire Tony La Russa. That came from the worst owner in sports, Jerry Reinsdorf, because him and Tony La Russa are like butt buddies.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
it doesn't help that La Russa got a DUI a month before the season last year. It's just like that's not going to help the team.
they
So
just need to bring back Ozzie Guillen. At least he kept people in line. But
that,
then go ahead.
I was just going to say, literally all of the executives and people in the front office need to get fired. Like the Kenny Williams guy for the White Sox, get him out of here. He has no idea what he's doing.
Dude, they haven't that Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams have been there since like the early 2000s, and they had that one year they won the World Series 2005. Guess how many series wins they have since 2005?
That's 18 years ago. I'd say
Yeah.
one every 5 years, 3, 2.
They haven't won a series.
Isn't that the same with the
They're
Twins? Is that the same with the
probably
Twins? Yeah.
and one of my favorite like White Sox things, and not just this wasn't supposed to turn into a White Sox pod, but it kind of is. Um, the most expensive player they've ever gotten in free agency or any contract ever, just in general, including I guess extensions. Andrew Benintendi for like 75 or 80 million dollars. Like even the Rockies went out and gave Chris Bryant like 200 million, and yeah, it was a terrible decision. But at least if you're a Rockies fan, you can say like our ownership will try. If you're a White Sox fan, you act like a small market team playing in the worst division in the sport, and you have
Yeah.
an owner who literally owns one of the most profitable franchises in all of sports, and he acts like he's broke, and he's like 85. Like who cares? Like what is
Literally,
the money going to do?
the only thing they had going for them before like this past winter and the free agency market hit was they had the best shortstop in town. Tim Anderson, baby. Well,
Now he's no, not last year, 2 years ago, because Nico was better than him last
oh,
year.
you're right. Yeah, yep. Yeah. So they
He's
had
the third
him.
best shortstop.
Yeah, and then for lack of a better term, he basically got knocked out last week. So Jose Ramirez hit him with the right hook. Things are not looking
He
good.
did not know where he was when he was getting help off the field.
No, yeah.
I shouldn't even be laughing. Like he might have like a legit concussion, but yeah, I mean he started it.
If you're
He squared up like it was a boxing match.
if you're
And
listening to
the ump
this,
like backed away.
if you're listening to this by the time like if news comes out that he has a concussion, please go back to the beginning of this. Go back like 2 minutes and just hit fast forward and pretend like you didn't hear it. Because we are pro concussion protocol podcast.
Yes,
PC
we are.
PCP we support
He's
PCP,
fine. I mean,
but we also don't like PCP.
yeah. Did you see what the manager? I can't even think of his name. Said afterwards. He was like, we're giving him tomorrow off. This is the day after he gets knocked out. He goes, but it was a scheduled off day anyway.
Yeah, Pedro Grifol, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm sure.
That's great managerial work right there.
That I feel bad for that guy. That like the article was like, yeah, guys were skipping workouts. Guys were sleeping in the bullpen. Guys just didn't like each other. He walked into a terrible job. I mean, that team has eaten alive like 3 managers in 4 years. So he probably will come back next year because are they going to have like how many buyouts on these contracts just to keep bringing in somebody? It's like they're not going to win next year.
Yeah, just keep him and then fire him next year.
Somehow Rick Hahn is still employed today, but I can't imagine they go into 2024 with the same group.
And for 2024, we'll try to get at Shy Sox fan Mike on the podcast. If you want to see something really sad, follow him on Twitter. He's basically their lead personality, and it's just you can't help but feel for the guy.
Get blocked.
It's all yeah, he blocks people fast, but we feel terrible for him because it's just been constant negativity for the past 2.5 years. Like you said, they won 90 games in 2021, and now it's just been, it's been bad.
Yeah, like all these guys have had just their careers have just kind of. I mean, look at Eloy. Like, I thought he was going to be really good, and as a Cubs fan, I don't even care. Like, he wouldn't do anything for us. I don't. Congrats, thanks Cubs. As James or was it Benetti? What's his first name? Jason Benetti said when he hit some home run against it. Like, dude, we're good.
Yeah.
That's enough White Sox talk. I did not plan on that.
We pretty much have them covered for the rest of the year. We won't bring up the White Sox ever again.
We can basically cross off the U.S. women's team and the White Sox for the next 4 years because I don't think there's anything to talk about. Unless they get in a brawl again, there's nothing.
Alex Morgan literally might as well play for either of those two teams. He'd fit in great. You don't have to do anything. Just show up, get your paycheck, and get out of there.
You could probably get tickets to a White Sox game right now for like $3 and just carry. This is the time of year where you'll see the White Sox fans pull up with what's it called? Like a paper lunch bag and like put it over their head, cut out the holes. It's that time of year. Sell the franchise shirts are coming out.
Yep.
Oh God. I feel their pain though, because I'm a Bulls fan. So like we have the same owner. We're both doomed until things change.
Speaking of that, mark your calendars. The first week of October, we'll have our NBA season win totals and predictions and all that good stuff. We'll break down kind of who we think is going to be the best rookie. We already talked about our all bust team. We'll check back in on those guys, make sure everyone's healthy and ready to go for the year.
Yes, but let's give some praise. We've been dogging a lot of people, a lot of teams. We just want to give a quick shout out to Matt Olson. He's just kind of a guy that we text about back and forth like throughout the week because he's just good. He's just a dog.
Yeah, literally our notes just say Matt Olson is good. I don't know what else you want us to really say. Doesn't he have like 40 home runs?
I think he got 38, 39. He's leading the NL, I think, only behind Ohtani overall. But not only does he hit a lot of homers, his home runs are like majestic. So
yeah, he's got a 4.3 WAR, 39 home runs, batting .266, 29 years old. The Oakland Athletics, I don't really know what to say. He would fit in great for them if they would have kept him, but they're too cheap.
Yeah, he's a different player than Freddie Freeman, but I think the Dodgers are happy and the Braves are happy, so it's kind of a win all around.
Matt Olson's happy. The Braves are happy. The Dodgers are happy. Freddie Freeman is sad. So
Freddie Freeman is crying in the dugout.
Yeah, there has
Freddie
to be
Freeman went 3 for 4 last night with a home run, a double, a single, and 3 tears on the bench.
No one has ever been so sad about getting like third place in the NL MVP voting, but that's where he's going to be
playing in like the second biggest market in the world and having a chance to win every year. It's got to be tough.
Yeah. Speaking of the awards market, the NL Cy Young has gotten pretty crazy. Yesterday, Spencer Strider got absolutely rocked by the Pirates of all teams. So he bounced from like the favorite. He was like plus 200. He's down to plus 750. A couple weeks ago, you actually got Justin Steele in at plus 1800. What's he sitting at right now?
He is plus 500. So it seems like every week he's creeping back up there. Some of it, he hasn't honestly pitched that great in his last start. But if you look at like his competition in the top 3 or 4, Strider is struggling. And that brings up a big series this weekend between the Padres and the Diamondbacks. Both teams are just outside the wild card. The Padres are like 4 back. I think the D-backs are 2 back, but they play each other 3 times, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The other 2 pitchers besides Strider and Steele in the Cy Young conversation for the NL is Blake Snell, who's pitching Friday, and Zach Gallen, who's pitching Saturday. So those guys kind of round out the top 4. So things can make a move either way, depending on how that series kind of shakes out. Um, it's just a big week for them. But with Steele, I'm not going to tell you to hedge yet, but I am a little nervous. He is 2 innings past his career high. He's only thrown like 130, but I mean, he's only thrown 128 or something for his career, or his high for like last year. Um, so there is some talk about potentially going to like a 6-man rotation for the Cubs, maybe cutting him back on a start or two as we go into the year. And if the Cubs are in the playoffs, hopefully, they're going to be very careful to not wear him down. So it might hurt his Cy Young chances slightly.
That's tough though, because if they don't have Steele pitching, like his normal workload, they're never going to win the World Series. They need him.
Yeah. They need, what they're probably hoping is they can get a little bit of a cushion in a wild card spot or the division and kind of go to a 6-man. Hope he only has to throw a couple starts there, and maybe 2-3 starts in September, and get him fresh for the postseason. But that's the best case scenario.
Yeah, and like you talked about with the NL wild card trying to get a cushion, it's gotten pretty crazy. The Cubs have won 14 out of their last 18, 17 games, something like that. So they're sitting 2.5 back from the Brewers. Right now they have a 26.2% chance, according to Fangraphs, to win the division, and just overall to make the playoffs, they're 46%, so about 50-50. Other teams that are kind of in the hunt there, the Marlins, they only have a 26% chance, even though they have the same record. The Diamondbacks are within a half game. They only have a 21% chance. So if you're a Cubs fan, obviously, yeah, you want the Brewers and Reds to lose, but you got to start paying attention to the Diamondbacks, the Marlins, and the Padres, essentially. Because I feel like the Giants are pretty safe with their wild card spot. I don't see them faltering down the stretch. In terms of the AL, the Angels have no chance. It's going to be the loser of the Astros. Oh, God.
Aren't the Red Sox struggling?
Yeah, the Red Sox are only 4 games above 500 now. You know you're bad when you have the same record as the Yankees, which is funny because we're crapping on them, but they just have the same record as the Cubs. But it's okay.
Yeah, I know. Part of it's just, I mean, their expectations are a little different coming into the year. When you spend on Carlos Rodon, you already have Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge had the year he had last year. Their division is just really good. I mean, they'd be winning the AL Central and it wouldn't even be close. So
yeah, that's true. Carlos Rodon, let's talk about him for a second. He just gave up 4 earned runs in 5 innings. Excuse me, that was his first start. They all look the same. I got confused. He went 2 2/3, gave up 5 earned runs. The game before, 4 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 5 2/3, 1 earned run. That was a good start. And then he gave up 6 and 4. So he's literally been causing them to lose games.
Embarrassingly, I thought that he was a good signing at the time, but
I thought he was too, but he somehow got through all his physicals and they checked him off and said his back was fine when really it's clearly not.
Can you imagine if the Yankees did what a lot of people wanted them to do by going and getting Carlos Correa? Can you imagine having Correa and Rodon with those medicals and those salaries and lack of performance? That fan base would just absolutely eat them alive, dude.
But on the other hand, if they also would have done what they were supposed to and get Freddie Freeman and get Corey Seager, they would be amazing. So yeah. I don't know what the heck they were doing 2 years ago. They were being cheap, and it makes no sense.
Corey Seager would have made a lot of sense for them.
Yeah.
Basically, they probably overvalued Volpe internally as a prospect, and it's just hasn't gone well. I mean, literally 3 months ago, they still thought that he was going to just come in and dominate, and that's just not reality. Yeah. Not every prospect is the overrated Derek Jeter. You know, we can
The
save
Derek,
that for another day.
okay, yeah, I was gonna say the Derek Jeter, who I think is 6th all time in hits in MLB history,
Yeah,
but
he's a Hall of Famer. It's just
yeah,
he's slightly overrated, but it's fine.
okay.
Acuna Jr. 40-40
Yeah,
club.
40-40 club. Do you think he's gonna get it? He's plus 280
I
right
think so.
now. Right now, he has 25 home runs, 53 stolen bases, so he's got the stolen bases covered. He needs 15 more home runs, which is a home run every 2.08 games.
Well,
But
this might be cheating.
his current pace is only 4.4 every 4.4 games. He's hitting a home run.
This might be cheating, and I don't know if those odds are up to date anymore. But while we're recording this, he homered, so he's got 26.
Okay.
um, yeah.
That's a lot to ask. I mean, especially like is he going to play consistently the last 3 or 4 games of the year when they already have the 1 seed locked up?
No, and they're not gonna. He's not going to be running and risking an injury.
Yeah.
They're probably going to. I mean, I guess he already has the steals,
It's just the
right?
home runs, yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, he has a chance.
I guess they could
I
DH him, I guess. I don't it if he's really close towards the end of the year, they will play him, but if he's like 8 away with like 4 or 5 games left, I would say he's definitely going to be sitting out.
So he'll have 51 games to hit 24 homers.
Yeah.
Or sorry, or 14 homers.
Yeah. Oh, did I do that math wrong then? I think I did the math wrong. If he only needs 14 home runs, I was doing it
Yeah.
as 25. So if he has 51 divided by 14, oh, that's one every 3.64 games.
I think he can do it if he can get it at plus money.
Would you look at that? We just created value right now. So you thought if you liked it at him hitting a home run once every 2.02 games, you'll love it with him hitting every 3.64
Gotcha.
games. Yeah. His stolen bases though, he's got 53 this year. Esteury Ruiz for Oakland, their lone bright spot, has 44. Corbin Carroll has 36. Bobby Witt 32. Wander Franco 29.
Yeah, I think part of the reason this number is so juiced is because of how rare historically the 40-40s happen, rather than like how realistic it is for Acuna almost. I think it's one of those numbers where like people are just kind of like, no, it's not going to happen because it just doesn't happen very much.
Well, my favorite thing to do is not include things in the notes and have it on my phone and give you a quiz. So
Oh, sweet.
there's been 4 players who have been in the 40-40 club. Do you know any of them?
Um,
You have 20 seconds. Otherwise, this is not good podcasting.
you're right. I feel like there's at least A-Rod didn't have 40 stolen bases, did
He
he?
did. He had in 1998 42 home runs and 46 stolen bases.
Okay, there's one. Did Ricky Henderson hit 40?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Manny Ramirez?
No.
Sammy Sosa?
No. There's a near miss list here, which we can go through later, but the list is Jose Canseco went 42 and 40 in 1988. Barry Bonds, the
I
greatest
should have got
player
that one.
in MLB history, who should be in the Hall of Fame, we went 42 and 40. And then this one is just, I was appalled by this. Alfonso Soriano went 46 and
Yeah.
41 in 2006. I would
Yeah,
have never guessed that.
he was a streaky dude. He was good though.
Yeah.
For that Barry Bonds one, was that while he was with the Pirates or the Giants? Does it
It was in
say?
1996, so that's a good question. I can take a look at that. But yeah, I had no idea Alfonso Soriano had that in him. But I mean, that was when we were pretty younger. So in 1996, he was with the Giants.
Hmm.
Yeah. So His stolen bases over the years, he had 43 in 91, 52 in 1990. Go all the way up to when he's 40 years old or 41 years old, he had 3, which is I'd like to look at the replay though. So how do you not throw Barry Bonds out at 41? Maybe it was
I don't
Yachty
know.
behind the plate. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and then just to wrap things up in terms of stolen bases, I was on Baseball Reference looking up the most stolen bases ever in a single season, and I'm sure you remember Hugh Nickel in 1887 when he ripped
Oh
off
yeah.
138 stolen bases. Everyone remembers that.
What team was he playing
And then
for?
Ricky
The
had
the Boston Colts? Probably some team that doesn't even exist.
yeah, I was gonna say I have no idea. This says he was a Scottish-born professional baseball player for the Chicago White Stockings, St. Louis Browns, Cincinnati Red Stockings, and the Cincinnati Reds. So
You
there
would
you
have
have
loved
it.
the St. Louis Browns.
If you had us referencing the Chicago White Stockings on your bingo card, you can go ahead and scratch that one off for today. Then I also have who has the most stolen bases currently in the MLB. Elvis Andrus has 343, Starling Marte 338, Billy Hamilton 326. Christian Yelich has 179, but I'm sure 60 of those were because of steroids, so we can go ahead and bump him
Yep.
down the list. Yeah. Acuna sitting there at 13 overall with 160. Acuna will probably get in. I mean, he's young. He'll get over at least in the 300s, probably much more than that. 25 years old, but yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to touch on MLB wise? I feel like that's a pretty good primer for the upcoming week.
No, nothing.
Okay. All right. We're gonna make this one a little bit shorter. We're not gonna talk about a 6-pack today, just because I feel like if we force a 6-pack of plays on you guys, it's just not gonna be like legitimate, and our heart's not gonna be in it. So instead, I'm just gonna give you a little lesson on what a teaser is. In terms of when you're betting teasers. So there's a couple common teasers, and it's either a 2-team 6-point teaser or a 3-team 10-point teaser. So, for example, if you were betting on a Browns against the Bears, the Browns would probably be 3-point favorites at home in Cleveland. You could tease the Browns down to +3, or you could tease the Bears up to you tease the Bears up to +9. So essentially, you're just going 6 points one way or the other. There's also 3-team teasers where you have the option of laying 10 points or moving it 10 points one way or the other. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because for NFL season, we're going to be giving out a bunch of teasers, especially the Stanford Wong teasers. So those teaser legs are so perfect to have as parlay legs, or as just part of your teasers, because they tease through the key numbers of 3 and 7, and 3 and 7 are key numbers because 15% of NFL games end as 3-point games in one way or the other, and 7% of NFL games end as a 7-point game, obviously because field goals and touchdowns. So the Stanford Wong teaser, some random super smart guy from a few years ago came up with it, and it's you want to try to tease a favorite down from like 8.5, for example, because you'd be going from 8.5 down to 2.5. So you'd be teasing through both key numbers of 7 and 3. Whereas vice versa, you'd want to tease an underdog from 7.5 all the way up to 1.5, because you'd be going through the 7 and the 3. So, or I guess in terms of the underdog, you'd be going from 1.5 to 7.5. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And I was looking up some stats, and they were compiling like kind of the records of the Stanford Wong teaser, and it's been profitable every season other than last year. I'm not really sure what happened last year. I think there just wasn't a lot of consistency, and just a lot of variance, which is also why it's recommended by us and several other sharp betting podcasts, where you want to wait until like at least week 3 or 4. So the first 2 weeks of the year, just because there's so much variance, we're not going to be giving you any Stanford Wong teaser legs. But starting week 3, especially in our preview pods, we'll be circling kind of what teams are favored by in that 1.5 to 3 range to 7.5 to 8.5 range. So we'll be looking at that. So Slade, week 1 of the preseason, I heard that you are potentially going to the Texans-Patriots game. Can you confirm that?
Potentially. I appreciate the pod letting me have some PTO, but I cannot confirm nor deny. I will be at an undisclosed location nearby, though.
So just like these big tech companies, the nice thing about working for BetGPT is we have unlimited PTO, and there's like no pressure from your supervisor to be like, oh, should I actually be taking this? Like, no, man, I just want you to have a good time. But still, you need to keep up with the sports, keep up with the current times. But while you're out there, if you do end up going to the game, we'll leave the podcast with one tip. Going back to the teaser legs, the 3-team 10-point teasers, if you played that in the week 1 preseason of 2022, so last year, and you teased all the point totals, if you tease them down and bet the over, so if the total was like 34.5, which is pretty common for the preseason, if you tease that down to 24.5, and you did that for 2 other games and had that set of 3 and bet it, there was a total of 560 permutations, so all these different combinations of bets you could make. If you made that on all possible bets, you would have gone 560-0. You would be rich. Which we did not do that, but we will be doing that this year. Not on every single permutation, but I will be having some 10-team or 3-team 10-point total teasers thrown in there. So just something to keep an eye on. I wanted to bring it up because I'd feel really guilty if we made a couple G's and you guys didn't. So
I mean, there's a reason that you can afford to get box seats for T Swift, right?
Yeah, let's end the show on that. I went to T Swift last night at SoFi in LA. Took the wife there. She had the time of her life. So I'm in her good graces for probably the next couple weeks. Yeah, I would highly recommend going. She played for like 3.5 hours. It was a really good time.
Was it better than the Barbie movie?
Yeah, I went to the Barbie movie as well, and I fell asleep for half an hour, admittedly. Not a good look
It's
for
nice
me.
that she's getting all these activities in before football starts, and she knows your life is just watching football.
That's the thing. Yeah, we did the Barbie movie that Sunday. The Sunday before, we did some other nonsense activity. You got to make it seem like you're putting in the effort, so that once football season rolls around, she's like, "Hey, can we, go to the pumpkin patch?" No, I mean, this is a full-time job. I have a podcast. I have to watch football for 9 hours, and I have to let the
Yeah.
people know what happened. So that's
Growing
my
up,
personal responsibility.
whenever my dad was watching football and my mom wanted him, to go do something out in the garage, whatever, he'd say, "I'm busy scouting," like as if it was his job. So that's just what we're doing. We're just busy scouting. We're doing research.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's nice. I'm glad you had some fun.
Shout out your dad, Steve. If you're listening, thank you for the life advice. We'll be sure to pass that
So
on.
you've given life
Generations.
advice. You've given life advice 2 pods in a row.
Yeah.
Make it a thing now.
Exactly. All right. That's enough nonsense to end the pod. We really appreciate you guys all listening. If you could please give us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify, as well as subscribe on our YouTube channel, that would be awesome. We're at the BetGPT podcast on YouTube, so we have our videos up as well. You can see our beautiful faces. Well, at least my face and Slade's beautiful face when he is in the proper lighting. It's almost like a tease. Slade's the better looking co-host, but we can never actually see him. So we're going to get him a ring light. We're going to get him set up. And yeah, it'll be a good time. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks.